The space station called Mercy's Light floated above a busy trade planet. It was the best animal hospital in the whole sector. Creatures from many star systems came here to get help. The station was clean and white and full of the best doctors in the galaxy. On this day, a young alien merchant named Pris stood in the examination room. She had 4 arms and blue-gray skin. Her people were called the Velthari. They were traders who traveled between worlds, and many of them kept animal companions for the long, lonely journeys through space. Pris had brought her companion here. His name was Boru. He was a Korath, a massive beast with 6 legs and gray hide. He was the size of a small ground vehicle. His body was covered in thick skin that looked like armor, but right now, that powerful body was weak and sick. Boru lay on a metal platform. His breathing was slow and painful. Dark spots covered his hide where infection had spread. His amber eyes, usually bright and alert, were dull with fever. He had stopped eating 3 days ago. He had stopped walking 2 days ago. Pris knew he was dying. The doctor in the room was a Silthian. Her name was Tavarine. She had green scales that shimmered under the lights. She looked at the holographic display that showed Boru's condition. Her face showed no emotion at all. "The treatment is denied," Tavarine said. Pris felt her heart stop, both of them. "What do you mean denied? I can pay. I have money. Whatever it costs, I will pay it." "This is not about money." The Silthian doctor turned to face her. "Your creature is classified as Category 7. This means it is considered aggressive and dangerous. Our protocols do not allow us to treat Category 7 animals." "But he is not aggressive," Pris said. Her voice was shaking. "He is gentle. He has never hurt anyone in 9 years. The classification is based on species, not individual behavior." Tavarine spoke like she was reading from a manual. "Koraths have the physical capability to kill most sentient beings with a single bite. They cannot be safely sedated with standard medications. Any doctor who tries to treat him without sedation risks serious injury or death. No physician in this facility will take that risk." Pris moved toward the doctor. "Please, he is not just an animal to me. He is my family. I have had him since he was small enough to fit in my arms. He sleeps beside my bed. He knows when I am sad. He licks my face when I cry. Please, you have to help him." Tavarine's secondary eyelids flickered. It was a sign of discomfort among her species. "I understand that you have emotional attachment to this creature, but I cannot ask my staff to risk their lives. The answer is no." "Then what am I supposed to do?" Pris felt tears forming in her eyes. "Just watch him die? Just sit here and do nothing while he suffers?" "You could try the human ship." The voice came from across the room. A technician was working at a console. He was a Dorvian, a species with 4 eyes and spotted skin. He was grinning in a way that was not kind. "What human ship?" Pris asked. The technician pointed at a window. Through it, Pris could see the lower docking ring of the station. A small cargo ship was attached there. It looked old and worn. The paint was faded. The hull had patches where repairs had been made. "The Wandering Paw," the technician said with a laugh. "They take cases nobody else wants. Charity cases. Desperate cases. The human female who runs it is known for being foolish." "Foolish how?" "She treats dangerous animals. She works with creatures that no sensible doctor would touch. She has been bitten, clawed, and stung more times than anyone can count. But she keeps doing it anyway." Dr. Tavarine made a sound of disapproval. "Humans are known for their irrational attachment to animals. They treat beasts like they are people. It is a cultural defect." Pris did not care about cultural defects. She only cared about Boru. She looked at her companion lying on the platform. His great chest rose and fell with each difficult breath. He had carried her supplies across desert planets. He had kept her warm on ice worlds. He had scared away pirates just by standing up and showing his teeth. and he had never once hurt her. Not even when she accidentally stepped on his tail. Not even when she was young and stupid and pulled his ears too hard. He was her friend, her protector, her family, and these doctors would let him die because of a classification in a computer. "How do I get to this human ship?" Pris asked. The technician laughed again. "Take the lower lift to Ring 7, but do not get your hopes up. Humans are soft, weak creatures. They have no claws, no fangs, no venom. What can they possibly do that we cannot?" Pris did not answer. She arranged for Boru to be transported on a medical hover platform. The movement made him groan in pain, and she felt each sound like a knife in her chest. As she guided the platform toward the lift, she passed Dr. Tavarine one last time. "I hope you never have to watch someone you love die," Pris said quietly. "Because if you did, you would understand why I am going to a ship full of soft, weak creatures. I am going because they are the only ones willing to try." The Silthian doctor said nothing. Pris and Boru descended toward Ring 7, toward the old cargo ship, toward the humans. She did not know what she would find there, but she knew it was her last hope. The airlock of the human ship opened with a hiss. Pris guided the hover platform, carrying Boru through the entrance. The smell hit her immediately. It was not a bad smell, but it was strange. Earthy, organic, like soil and plants and living things. The corridor was narrow. The walls were lined with cages and tanks and glass boxes. Inside them were creatures of every kind. Small, furry things that made squeaking noises. Scaly things that watched her with cold eyes. Creatures with feathers, creatures with shells, creatures she had never seen before in all her travels across the galaxy. A small machine floated up to her. It was a maintenance drone, round and simple. "Welcome to the Wandering Paw," the drone said in a mechanical voice. "Please follow me to the medical bay. Dr. Park will see you shortly." Pris followed the drone through the ship. It was crowded and messy. Supplies were stacked in corners. Food bowls sat outside cage doors. Everything looked used and worn, but also clean and cared for. This was not a fancy hospital. This was a home. She heard sounds everywhere. Chirps and growls and soft cooing noises. Some of the creatures pressed against their cage doors as she passed. They seemed curious, not afraid. The drone led her to a room at the end of the corridor. It was a small surgical bay, packed with equipment. A human female stood at a table in the center. She was elbow-deep inside a creature that looked like a feathered snake. "1 second," the human said, without looking up. "Almost got it." Pris waited. She watched as the human worked with steady hands. The creature on the table was unconscious, its feathered body rising and falling with slow breaths. The human pulled something out of its body, a cluster of squirming parasites. She dropped them into a container and sealed it. Then she began closing the wound. Her movements were quick, but careful. When she finished, she wiped her hands on a cloth and finally turned around. "Okay," she said. "What do you have?" Pris looked at the human. She was smaller than Pris had expected, shorter than a Velthari. No claws, no scales, no protective features of any kind. Her skin was smooth and brown. Her black hair was tied back from her face. Her eyes were dark but warm. She looked tired, very tired, but she also looked alert and interested. "My name is Pris," the Velthari said. "This is my companion, Boru. He is a Korath. He is very sick." The human walked over to the hover platform. She looked at Boru. She did not step back. She did not show fear. "Tell me everything," she said. Pris explained. The infection that had appeared a week ago, the fever that kept rising, the doctors at Mercy's Light who had refused to help. The Category 7 classification. The human listened carefully. She pulled out a small device and scanned Boru's body. She looked at the results on a screen. "My name is Una Park," she said. "I am a veterinarian. That means I am an animal doctor. Will you help him?" Yuna did not answer right away. She kept looking at the scan results. Her face was hard to read. Category 7, she murmured. They really love their categories, don't they? So you understand why I was turned away? I understand why they refused. Yuna put down her device. Then she asked a question that surprised Pris. What is his name? His name? Your companion, the Korath. What do you call him? No doctor at Mercy's Light had asked this question. They had talked about species and classifications and risk assessments. They had never asked his name. Boru, Pris said. His name is Boru. Something changed in Yuna's face. Her eyes softened. She looked at the sick creature on the platform, and for a moment, Pris saw something she had not expected. She saw love. Not for Boru specifically, but for all creatures, for anything that was hurting and needed help. Bring Boru into the cargo bay, Yuna said. I need to examine him properly. My assistant will help you move him. A young human male appeared from another room. He had short black hair and a kind face. He introduced himself as Taiho Kim. Is this the emergency case? Taiho asked. Category 7 Korath, Yuna said. Infection in the secondary lung, spreading to the lymphatic system. Probably parasitic. Taiho looked at Boru, at his massive size, at his teeth, visible even with his mouth closed. And we are going to treat him? We are going to try. The alien hospital has better equipment, better medicine, better everything. They also have better excuses. Yuna grabbed a medical kit from a shelf. Get the cargo bay ready, large animal configuration, and bring the Korath sedation formula, the one I developed last year. Taiho nodded and hurried away. Pris watched this exchange with amazement. These humans did not seem worried about risk assessments or classifications. They did not talk about liability or protocols. They talked about saving a life. Why are you doing this? Pris asked. Yuna looked at her. Doing what? Helping. The other doctors said it was too dangerous. They said no sensible physician would try. Yuna smiled. It was a tired smile, but genuine. Then I guess I am not sensible. She picked up her medical kit. Come on, let's go save your friend. Pris followed her deeper into the ship. For the first time in days, she felt something other than despair. She felt hope. The cargo bay had been changed into a room for treating large animals. Metal platforms lined the floor. Equipment hung from the walls. Bright lights shone down from above. Boru lay on the largest platform in the center. His 6 legs twitched with pain. His gray hide was hot with fever. His amber eyes rolled from side to side as strange smells filled his nose. He was afraid. Pris could see it. In 9 years, she had learned to read his emotions. Right now, he was more scared than she had ever seen him. Taiho stood on the far side of the room. He watched a screen that showed Boru's heartbeat and breathing. The numbers were not good. Heart rate is going up, Taiho said. He is getting more afraid. I know, Yuna said softly. She stood near the door of the cargo bay. She had not moved toward Boru yet. She was just watching him, studying him. Boru saw her, his lips pulled back from his teeth. Those teeth were massive. Each one was the size of a human finger. A low rumble began in his chest. It was a warning sound that Koraths made when they felt threatened. Any sensible creature would have run away. Yuna took a slow step forward. What are you doing? Pris grabbed her arm. He might attack. When he makes that sound, it means he is ready to fight. No, Yuna said gently. She removed Pris's hand from her arm. That sound means he is scared. He is warning us to stay away because he does not want to fight. There is a difference. How can you tell? Look at his eyes. Look at his body. He is pressing himself down, trying to look smaller. His ears are flat. His tail is tucked. If he wanted to attack, he would be making himself look bigger, not smaller. Pris looked at Boru again. Yuna was right. He was not trying to threaten them. He was trying to disappear. Yuna took another step forward, then another. She moved slowly, like she had all the time in the world. She kept her body low. Her hands were open and visible. She made no sudden movements. The rumbling in Boru's chest grew louder. "He could kill you with one bite," Pris said. Her voice was shaking. "He could," Yuna agreed. She did not stop moving forward. "But he will not. He is not angry. He is scared and hurting. He does not want to hurt anyone. He just wants the pain to stop." She stopped a few feet from Boru's massive head. Then she did something that shocked everyone in the room. She crouched down. She made herself even smaller. She extended one hand, palm facing up, and held it in the air. "Easy, buddy," she whispered. Boru's amber eyes locked onto hers. The rumbling continued. His teeth were still visible. One snap of those jaws could take her arm off, but Yuna did not move. She just waited. Minutes passed. Nobody spoke. The only sounds were Boru's labored breathing and the soft beeping of medical equipment. Slowly, very slowly, the rumbling began to fade. Boru's lips covered his teeth again. His body relaxed just a tiny bit. His massive head lowered toward Yuna's outstretched hand. His nostrils flared. He was smelling her, learning her scent. Yuna stayed perfectly still. Then Boru's nose touched her palm. It was wet and warm and rough. "There you go," Yuna murmured. "There you go, big guy. I am not going to hurt you. I am going to help you. I am going to make the pain stop." Taiho was staring. "How did you do that?" Yuna smiled. Her hand moved gently across Boru's snout, scratching lightly at the rough skin. Mammals recognize mammals, even across species, even across galaxies. Somewhere deep inside, he knows I am not a predator. I am not a threat. She looked at Pris. "How long has he been your companion?" 9 years. 9 years of trust. 9 years of kindness. He knows what love feels like. He knows what safety feels like. Yuna kept petting Boru's massive head. That kind of bond does not need words. It is a language that every creature understands. Boru made a new sound. It was softer than the warning rumble, lower and more peaceful. Pris had heard this sound before, late at night, when Boru was comfortable and happy. "He likes you," Pris said with amazement. "He is starting to trust me." Yuna moved her hand to examine Boru's infected hide. He flinched when she touched a painful spot, but he did not pull away. "That is not the same as liking me. But it is enough." She spent the next hour examining him. She checked his eyes, his ears, his mouth. She listened to his hearts. She felt along his body for swelling. She took samples of his blood and the fluid leaking from his infected skin. Through all of it, she kept talking to him. Soft, calm words that did not mean anything specific. Just a steady stream of sound that let him know she was there, that she was paying attention, that she cared. By the end of the examination, Boru was almost calm. His eyes were still tired and full of pain, but the fear was mostly gone. "The infection is worse than the scans showed," Yuna said finally. Her voice was serious. "There is a parasite in his secondary lung. It is spreading poison through his whole body. Without treatment, he has maybe 2 days." "Can you save him?" Pris asked. Yuna looked at Boru. She was still petting his head. "I am going to try," she said, "but it will not be easy." The surgery room was ready. Bright lights hung above the operating platform. Medical tools were laid out on a clean table. Machines beeped and hummed with power. Boru lay on the platform, his massive body taking up almost all the space. His breathing was worse now. The infection was spreading faster. They did not have much time. Yuna was washing her hands and arms. She moved quickly but carefully. Taiho was preparing the equipment. Pris stood by the observation window. She could not be in the room during surgery, but she could watch from outside. Her 4 hands were pressed against the glass. "The doctors at Mercy's Light said sedation could kill him," Pris said through the speaker. "How will you operate without sedation?" "We will use sedation," Una said. "Just not the standard kind." She pulled up a formula on a screen, numbers and chemical symbols that Pris did not understand. "This is something we developed on Earth," Una explained. "My home planet. Humans have been working with large animals for thousands of years. Elephants, whales, rhinos. Creatures with bodies similar to Korath's. We learned how to sedate them safely." "You developed a sedation formula for Korath's?" "I developed formulas for many species. It is something I do in my free time." Una smiled tiredly. "Some people collect art. I collect ways to help animals sleep safely." Taiho loaded the sedation formula into an injector. "How did you know you would need a Korath formula?" "I did not know. I just wanted to be ready in case I ever met one." Una took the injector and walked toward Boru. "When you travel the galaxy helping animals, you learn that preparation is everything. You never know what creature will need you next." She approached Boru slowly, the same way she had before. He was too weak now to make warning sounds, but his eyes tracked her movement. He recognized her. He trusted her. "Easy." "Buddy," she whispered. "This is going to help you sleep. When you wake up, the pain will be gone. I promise." She pressed the injector against his neck and pushed the button. The sedation entered his bloodstream. For a moment, nothing happened. Then Boru's eyes began to close. His massive body relaxed. His breathing became deeper and more regular. "He is asleep," Taiho confirmed, checking the monitors. "Vital signs are stable." "Good." Una put on her surgical gloves. "Let's begin." The next 6 hours were the longest of Pris's life. She watched through the window as Una worked. The human's hands were steady and precise. She cut into Boru's hide with careful movements. She used machines to see inside his body. She found the parasite that was killing him. It was horrible. A mass of twisted tissue the size of a human fist, wrapped around his secondary lung. It had roots spreading through his body like a plant growing in soil. Those roots were the source of the poison. Una did not hesitate. She began removing the parasite piece by piece. It was slow work, delicate work. One wrong cut could puncture his lung. One mistake could cause bleeding that could not be stopped. Taiho worked beside her, handing her tools, monitoring the machines, keeping Boru stable. They moved together like dancers who had practiced the same steps 1,000 times. Pris pressed her hands against the window and did not look away. Hours passed. Una's arms must have been tired. Her back must have been hurting from standing so long. But she did not stop. She did not rest. She just kept working. Finally, she pulled the last piece of the parasite free. It was dead now. A twisted, ugly thing that had almost killed her friend. Una dropped it into a container and sealed it. "Now comes the hard part," she said. She spent another hour cleaning the infection from Boru's body. She gave him medicine to fight the poison that remained. She closed the wound with careful stitches. When she was finally done, she stepped back from the table. Her surgical clothes were covered in fluids. Her face was pale with exhaustion. "He is going to be okay," she said. Pris did not hear the rest. She was already crying. She pressed her face against the window and let the tears fall. All 4 of her hands were flat against the glass. She had been so scared, so sure she was going to lose him. And now this human, this small, soft creature with no claws or fangs, had done what the best doctors in the sector said was impossible. Taiho opened the door to let her in. She rushed to Boru's side and pressed her face against his. He was still asleep. His breathing was strong and steady. The fever was already starting to fade. "Thank you," Pris said. Her voice was broken with emotion. "Thank you. I do not know how to thank you enough." Una was washing her hands again. She looked ready to collapse from tiredness. "You do not need to thank me," she said quietly. "This is what I do. This is what I am for." Pris looked at her, at this strange human who had risked her life for a creature she had never met, who had spent 6 hours in surgery to save an animal that other doctors had called too dangerous to help. "Why?" Pris asked. "Why do you do this?" Yuna looked at Boru, at his massive body rising and falling with each healthy breath. "Because somebody has to," she said. "Because every life matters. Because when I see a creature in pain, I cannot just walk away." She smiled. It was a tired smile, but it was real. "And because he called me buddy, in my heart anyway, and you do not give up on your buddies." Word spread faster than starships could travel. Within weeks, everyone in the sector knew about the Wandering Paw. They knew about the human veterinarian who treated creatures that other doctors refused to touch. They knew about the Korath that should have died but was now healthy and strong. Stories grew with each telling. Some said the human could talk to animals. Some said she had no fear at all. Some said she was crazy, stupid, reckless. But everyone agreed on one thing. If you had a creature that nobody else would help, you went to the humans. Ships started showing up at the Wandering Paw every day. Aliens with sick companions, traders with injured cargo animals, even wealthy collectors with rare creatures that needed special care. Yuna turned nobody away. Neither did Taiho. They worked long hours, sometimes going days without sleep. Their small ship became crowded with recovering patients. The cargo bay was always full, and still they kept helping. One day, a familiar face appeared at the airlock. Dr. Tavarine, the Silthian physician who had denied treatment to Boru, stepped onto the human ship. Her green scales rippled with discomfort as she looked around at the cramped, busy space. Yuna was in the main treatment room. She was feeding a recovering Korath. It was not Boru, but another one that had arrived last week with similar injuries. At her feet, 2 small lizards from a desert planet were playing, chasing each other in circles. "Dr. Park," Tavarine said formally, "I have come to observe your methods." Yuna did not look surprised. "Welcome aboard. Watch out for the lizards. They like to climb on visitors." The Silthian carefully stepped around the playing creatures. "I do not understand your operation here. You treat Category 7 animals without proper safety protocols. You work without adequate equipment. You take risks that any sensible physician would avoid." "That is true," Yuna said calmly. She continued feeding the Korath. "And yet you succeed. Your survival rate is higher than many proper medical facilities. How is this possible?" Yuna thought about the question. She finished feeding the Korath and wiped her hands clean. "Can I show you something?" she asked. She led Tavarine through the ship. They passed cages and tanks filled with recovering creatures. Some were sleeping, some were eating. Some pressed against their doors to get closer to Yuna as she passed. They stopped at a large window that looked into the cargo bay. Inside, Pris was sitting with Boru. The massive Korath was completely healed now. His hide was smooth and healthy. His eyes were bright. He was resting his huge head on Pris's lap while she scratched behind his ears. "I have been studying your species," Tavarine said. "Humans are not impressive physically. You are not fast. You are not strong. You have no natural weapons. By most measures, you should not have survived on your own planet." "And yet here we are," Yuna said with a small smile. "How did you do it? How did you become the dominant species on your world?" Yuna watched Pris and Boru through the window. "We made friends." Tavarine's secondary eyelids flickered. "I do not understand. Thousands of years ago, humans were just one species among many on Earth. We were prey for bigger, stronger creatures. We should have died out." Yuna leaned against the window frame. "But we learned something important. We learned that other animals could help us. Dogs could help us hunt. Horses could carry us. Cats could protect our food from pests. We did not survive alone. We survived together. You formed partnerships with other species. We formed families. Yuna turned to look at the Silthian. We learned to love creatures that were different from us. We learned to understand them. We learned to read their emotions through their bodies, their sounds, their eyes. We spent thousands of years practicing. And that is why you can treat dangerous animals? That is why they are not dangerous to us. Yuna smiled. When I look at a creature, I do not see a Category 7 threat. I do not see a risk assessment. I see a living being that is scared or hurting or confused. And I think somewhere deep inside them they can tell the difference. Tavarine was silent for a long moment. She watched Pris and Boru through the window. The massive Korath had fallen asleep in his owner's lap. Pris was singing softly to him. Perhaps, the Silthian said slowly, there is something to learn from human methods. There is something to learn from everyone, Yuna replied. That is what the galaxy is for. Different species, different ideas, different ways of doing things. We are all better when we share what we know. Tavarine looked at Yuna. Her expression was hard to read, but something had changed in her eyes. Would you teach me? She asked. Your methods, your way of approaching animals, would you show me how it is done? Yuna grinned. Pull up a chair, Doc. I will show you how to do a proper ear scratch. That is where everything starts. Pris returned to her trading ship a few days later. Boru walked beside her, strong and healthy. He was different now, not in body, but in spirit. He had learned that not all strange creatures meant him harm. Some of them meant love. When other merchants asked how she had saved her companion, Pris told them the story. She told them about the space station that had turned her away. She told them about the small human ship with the faded paint. She told them about the doctor who whispered, "Easy, buddy," and saved her best friend's life. The alien physicians saw a monster, Pris would say. The humans saw a friend. And somewhere in the stars, aboard a ship that smelled of earth and life and hope, Yuna Park whispered those same words to another frightened creature. She would keep whispering them for as long as she lived, because that was what humans did. They made friends. They made families. They loved creatures that were different from themselves, and in doing so, they taught the galaxy that compassion was the greatest technology of all.